So, hello everyone, back again at the third session of the wehorse Online Festival. After having two trainers, after having the British national coach Chris Bartel and Arian Aguilar from the States, we are now pleased to have someone from Germany. It is the classical dressage trainer Anja Beran. Hello, Anja.
Hello.
It's a pleasure having you on, and we are going to talk about straightening with the help of lateral movements. That's the topic of your presentation we're really excited about. And I have the privilege now to give a brief introduction of you. You are a trainer of classical equestrianism in the field of classical dressage. You have been working for 16 years with French masters, and for 26 years you have been diving into the Portuguese way of mastering classical dressage. In total, 32 years of work experience in the field of classical dressage, and since 2000, the year 2000 millennium, you are running your own training center, the International Training Center Gut Rosenhof in Bavaria. It is 1 hour southwest of Munich, and you are holding clinics and lectures worldwide. And we have been working with you for many, many years. So we are very excited, straightening with the help of lateral movements. The stage is yours, Anja.
Thank you and welcome to our very important topic, lateral movements. So first question is, why do we use them? We use lateral movements, first of all, to warm up our horse. So in the beginning of the lesson, the first 10-15 minutes, we spend in a very concentrated walk, and we use all the lateral movements we know, but they should fit to the individual problems of the horse. And when you use them in the beginning of the lesson, you start that the joints of the horse get very supple, and the horse starts, of course, to be mobile. So if you have a horse tense in a way, the lateral movements, they help you that the horse starts to be supple. He will lose to have tense muscles. And at the end, you have a horse that can move very easily forward by side or backwards. That's our goal. And if you do it in the beginning of the lesson in a concentrated walk, you should try to talk to your horse just with your body language, and your legs and your rein aids are nice accessoires, as the French say. But it's very important that the horse starts to listen to how you turn your body, how you play with your weight, and that the horse starts to follow these aids. And every day you should try to give these aids more and more fine. So at the end of this warm-up period, you have a horse that is listening really to your aids. And if you have the chance to take this then again into trot and later into canter, it's really a very, very important work you can do in the beginning of the lesson. And the lateral movements, they also help you to put your horse into balance. That means with the engagement of the hindquarters you do, your horse starts to lift a little in the front and starts to take weight with the hind legs. So you put weight from the forehand to the hindquarters, what is very important. And like this, all the lateral movements lead directly to collection. If I tell this, I don't speak of one lesson or a week or two. I always speak about years. If we train a horse, we need years. But the lateral movements, you cannot do any classical training without lateral movements. So all what I've explained now, you get automatically if you do the lateral movements. But there's one thing you just get if you use the lateral movements really in a special system. And that is, you just can straighten your horse if you choose the important lateral movements for each horse. If you do shoulder in to the right with every horse and shoulder in to the left and travers to the right, you get all what I've told you. You warm up your horse, you make it mobile and so on. but you will never straighten your horse. For that, you need a special system. I will explain a little bit later, because to put the horse straight is very, very important. So we have here a thing about the natural crookedness of the horse. You can see normally a horse is natural bend or hollow on one side and stiff on the other side. There where the horse is hollow, normally the muscles are already a little bit short, so the horse cannot bend and flex to the other side. So normal, the right or left one is good or stiff, but there are horses, they have like an S in their bodies. So it's not like here, as I described here, is really more complicated. But most of the horses, they just have one stiff and one hollow side. So the question is why this is a problem. Because when the horse is in nature without the weight of the rider, is no problem. He's a little bit maybe on the forehand, he's maybe a little bit asymmetry, but he will stay healthy. But as soon as we put our weight on the horse's back, we break the natural balance of the horse is falling on the shoulders. And if we are not really sitting in the center and a little bit maybe to one side, and the horse is also hanging a little bit on one side, there's too much stress suddenly placed on one leg, mostly on a front leg. So if I see something like that, I can tell you maybe in 1 year, this horse will have a problem or will be damaged in the right front leg, because the rider is hanging on the right, the horse is hanging on the shoulders, and mostly of the time on his right front leg. So that's the reason why we should try to help the horse to get straight, to balance his body. That means that each leg carries the same weight. And like this, the horse will stay healthy. For example, you have horses, they are so stiff and you want to make a circle, they are really falling inside. Or they are hollow on one side, so on the circle you feel that the horse is falling out of the line all the time. So one shoulder really carries a lot of weight, and often they get a problem in this shoulder or in the front leg. Very often we have horses with one hind leg that is a little bit not stepping under the weight like the other one, but stepping a little bit by side. Or one hind leg makes a shorter step. So most of the horses, they have problems like this, and you have to watch before you train them, and then you can choose the important lateral movements for this horse. Because as riders, we should be, or as trainers, we should be at the same time the physiotherapists for our horses. So we need a diagnosis, what is the problem of the horse, and then we give special solutions with the help of lateral movements. Because if ourselves, we go to the physiotherapist, we don't do all of us the same exercises. No, he will ask, what is your problem in your shoulder, in your hip, or wherever, and then you do special exercises just for you. And the same we have to do with the horses. And at the end, of course, in my case, we want to train a high school horse, which is really in balance. At the end, we want to do all the same. But the way to get there is with every horse a very different way. And sometimes I had horses, they arrived here also with one hoof, more used than the other hoof, so more short, because they cannot balance their weight and they make steps not equal. So that's the reason why we should use the lateral movements to put the horse straight. The question is, how do I feel the crookedness under the saddle? So when I'm on the horse, everybody will know this situation. Very often you have a horse really leaning on one rein, very heavy, and to this side normally the horse cannot flex, means cannot turn the head or cannot bend. So it's very stiff there and you feel a lot of pressure or weight on one rein. And on the other side, where the horse is hollow, very often we don't get contact to the horse's mouth. This rein is always loose because the horse bends himself too much. And so a contact, an equal contact is not possible. very often the horses put the rider into a crooked position. That means they even move the saddle a little bit to one side, normally away from the hollow side to the stiff side. So if we feel this all the time, we try to get the center and move the saddle into the center of the back, and that's very, very difficult. And of course, on the side where the horse is stiff, he's leaning a little bit against our leg. And on the other side, we cannot touch very well with the leg on the hollow side. So we also feel on the stiff side, it's very difficult to get into the corners of the arena. And on the stiff side, when we want to do a circle, the horse is falling into the circle and wants to look to the outside. So we have to do a lot work to keep the horse on the circle. And where the horse is hollow, he's falling out of the circle line. So we feel the horse wants to make the circle bigger and bigger. So we cannot hold the line, or worst case, the horse is leaning against the wall. So very often you see riders, when the horse is falling into the circle and is very stiff, they start minutes, sometimes half an hour, to do this circle and pulling on the inside rein, inside leg. So they work with their muscle power against the muscles of the horse, against the stiffness. But there's another way in classical riding, a way with a little bit more brain and less muscle power. You have to think about the problem, and then you will find a solution. The answer is gymnastic. You do gymnastic with the horse with the help of lateral movements. And little by little, you will solve the problem without pulling on the rein or making pressure with your leg. So the question is, if I'm on the horse, do I see the crookedness too? For example, when I lunge the horse. And yes, we do, but just if we lunge without auxiliary reins, like you see here, just with the covers on, you see here a horse that is really natural hollow on the left side, is looking always to the trainer in the center, and you feel, or you can see the lunge, there is pressure on the lunge because the horse is really trying to escape out of the circle line to the outside. So his weight is mostly on his outside shoulder. And you see he's always looking to the left. So very important, if we see a horse like this, even the canter is not free forward. The canter is also, the energy is falling out of the circle line. The energy goes to the right front instead of forward. So if we see a horse like this, we have to do a lot of movements from right to left. We have to give this horse flexion and bending to the right to make his body more straight. Here you can see the same horse on the right rein on the circle. And here you see he's trying to look to the left too. So he's looking outside. But we can see, this is an important point, but difficult to explain. We have to see if the hollow side is worse, is really too much hollow, or if the stiff side is worse. So if I watch this horse, I can tell you the hollow side is worst. With the stiff side here, I think we can live. But we have to put the hollow side much more straight. Even the canter here on the stiff side, what is normal, is much better. So this is a very old tradition to watch our horse when we lunge him and to make a diagnosis before we ride him. For example, with a 3-year-old, we cannot ride, so we watch him like this. And I have a quotation of Albrecht, who was the director of the Spanish riding school in Vienna. And I discovered all the old masters, they talk a lot more about the crookedness of the horse and how we can solve the problem than the modern riders. So he said, the most fundamental requirement for solid fundamentals is the systematic structure of a horse's training. Already during lunging work, if a rider or trainer decides to start off in this way, it is possible to make many observations which reveal a great deal of important information about the horse. It provides the opportunity to study in great detail not just the sequence of movement in its entirety, but also the individual relevant parts of the horse's body. Already at this stage, the trainer will be able, at least to a certain extent, to draw up a concept as to how he can proceed. So he said, watch the horse and then make your program how you can train the horse. And this is a very important thing, because nowadays we often think my horse is on level A, next level, medium level, difficult level now, higher level. No, the horse, for each horse, you have to make an individual training program concerning to his problems. And that is what he's talking about. And you can see it already when you lunge your horse. And he said, the straightness of a horse is the heart and soul of rideability. Crookedness, the most dangerous source of all resistance. So he means, if you have a horse straight, and only then he can do the more difficult movements really with lightness and in balance. For example, if your horse is straight and you want to do a piaffe, you get equal steps full of energy. But if you have a horse not straight, maybe you have one hind leg stepping backwards, one hind leg more high than the other. So you always see problems. But when you have your horse straight, you can really show everything brilliant and with lightness. And when your horse is crooked, of course, it's also dangerous, because if there's something, the horse can escape. For example, I had a horse here, very stiff on the right side. So suddenly, if you wanted to turn right on a circle or small circle, he just went away straight forward or to the left, because he was so stiff you couldn't turn. So this is what he has written is the source of resistance. And that's why it is so important to put the horse straight. But how can I do it with the lateral movements? First of all, I try that the stiff side becomes more supple. So I spend more time to bend and flex the stiff side, and on the hollow side, I work a little bit less. And when I'm on the hollow side, I don't bend or flex my horse. For example, on the hollow side, I don't do shoulder in for a while, because it makes no sense. It's even against the work I do on the other side. So on the hollow side, I forget the shoulder in for 2-3 months, and then I come back to it, for example. So on the hollow side, I always try to have the horse a little bit more straight, or even in contraflexion if necessary. And little by little, I get this weak hind leg or the weak diagonal pair of legs more active. That means if I have one hind leg that is not stepping under the weight of the horse and is trying all the time to escape, I can, for example, with a shoulder in, give this horse more activity, more energy, and can put it all the time under the point of gravity. So the horse, little by little, learns to use this hind leg too. Because very often it's not a problem that the horse should go to the veterinary. No, often it's just a problem of being not straight. And on the other side, you also can make a transfer of weight of the shoulders. So if you have a horse hanging really on one shoulder, you will feel it in this rein. And with the shoulder in, for example, you can make a transfer of weight. You ride always away of this heavy shoulder to the other shoulder. And like this, you make this more light, and you will get contact on the other rein, and you will lose contact on the rein where the horse is hanging on. And another thing is, with the help of the lateral movements, you will be able to move the hindquarters of the horse, but of course, and that's also important, the forehand. For example, with a shoulder in, you can move the forehand in front of the hindquarters, and that is how we put a horse straight if we have a problem. If we see the hindquarters are coming inside, we put the forehand a little bit to this side in front of the hind legs. We don't put with our leg the hindquarters left, right. No. If we want to straighten the horse, always move the shoulders in front of the hindquarters. So like this, it means that the lateral movements are the best preparation for all other high school movements, but be careful nowadays they are often written too fast. If you do the lateral movements too fast, the joints stay stiff and the horses even touch their legs. So do it as it is written in a collected movement. And then the horse have the most profit of the lateral movements. So the question is, what lateral movements do we have? So first of all, we have the leg yielding. And many masters say leg yielding is not a lateral movement. I don't agree, because first of all, the horse moves by side in leg yielding. What is correct is that the hind leg does not step under the point of gravity. So there is not really engagement of the hind leg, and there's no bending. That's true. But we have flexion, and the horse learns, and this is so important, because in the beginning, when we start with a young horse, we teach him to go forward when we use our leg. So next step is that the horse has to learn sometimes should not go forward when we use our legs, but by side. And the leg yielding is the most easiest movement by side to teach the horse this, that he understands I have to go away of the rider's leg. If you do it in the beginning with the nose to the wall and use a little bit your leg, the horse learns to go by side. So for me is really a basic movement that helps us to lead to all the other movements by side. And it's very natural. If you watch your horse on the field, if he's moving at the fence, he's moving to the right and looking a little bit to the opposite side. So it's a very, very natural movement. And it has a gymnastic effect, because if you have a horse really stiff, flexion is already a problem. So sometimes for some horses it's really hard just to give you a little flexion and to turn the head. So it's already a gymnastic for the horse. So I use it, leg yielding, as a very important movement for the beginning. And you can do it in walk, trot, and canter. And all the movements, if you do them, try to do them with the poll up. The horse should not fall down with head and neck and hang on his shoulders. The poll as a highest point is very, very important. And do these movements in a calm walk and try really to feel each leg of the horse, try to feel each muscle, try to feel every part of the body where maybe your horse is a little bit tense, and try that the horse reacts on light leg aids. And if you move your fourth finger a little on the rein, the horse should give you flexion and later bending and should start to chew on this rein very easily and very light. So it means if I move my finger on the other end of the rein, I want to start a conversation. I want that the horse is answering to me. That is very, very important. And for that, don't close the nose bend too much, because if you avoid that the horse can open his mouth a little, he will never speak with you. And this is not fair. It's really unfair. So 2 fingers between nose bend and horse's nose, and then you will get a reaction on the other side of the rein, and the horse can give you flexion and will start to chew on the bit. And as soon as the horse starts chewing on the bit, you can be sure that your lateral movement makes sense, because then the back of the horse starts to work, because this is all connected. Another movement is overtracking. This we just do on vaults and circles, and we do it just in walk and trot, not in canter. That means we really put the shoulders of the horse inside of the line, and then we go by side with a straight neck and a horse that is just a little bit flexed, so not bended. For me, it's a very important preparation for piaffe and passage, and all the horses that learn to push a lot, they learn to move and use their body in another way now, because they have to move their body, but they cannot push forward. So for me, it's a very good exercise to get away of the forehand. And then we have the shoulder in. Shoulder in is the first lateral movement that helps you to collect your horse. So you can do it on 3 or 4 tracks. The modern way is on 3 tracks. So you just put the shoulders a little bit inside, and the inside hind leg of the horse steps to the outside front leg. So when you are standing behind the horse, you will see 3 legs of the horse. This is shouldering in a modern way. The horse is bended and flexed, and against the side he moves. So he's bent and flexed to the left and moves to the right. And we have also the possibility to do it on 4 tracks. They call it the Baroque version. I do it as the horse needs it in training. So if I have a horse very stiff, I do it on 3 tracks and bend a little bit more. When the horse is stiff on this side, I really bend and try to make a transfer of weight of this inside stiff shoulder to the outside shoulder. On the hollow side, I don't do it on 3 tracks, because there it's very dangerous that the horse is falling out of the line with his weight, is going over the outside shoulder. So on the hollow side, I do it on 4 tracks. I keep the horse a little bit more straight. I don't bend too much and put the shoulders more inside. And then I have my outside rein to control really the outside shoulder of the horse. So in training, you should do it how your horse needs it, how it is best for him. If you perform, of course, you have to do it how they want it. And then we have a counterflexed shouldering. This is the counter exercise to shouldering. Is almost the same, but you start on a 2nd track and put, normally from the track, you put the shoulders inside. In counter shouldering, you stay on a 2nd track and put it to the track or to the wall. Shouldering we do in walk and in trot, but in canter we call it shoulder 4. So we just do it very little, because if you put the horse really on 3 tracks or the shoulders even more inside, you risk that the horse will lose the proper jump of canter. You want a 3-beat canter, and for that is not good if you put the shoulders too much in. But the training should be little by little in a moment that you are able to move the shoulders a little bit to the inside, even in canter, to keep your horse straight, but never too much. And then we have travers and half pass. So travers, the horse is also bent and flexed, but this is the first lateral movement. The horse is bent and flexed into the direction he moves. So this is already more difficult, because normally we ride away of the side where the horse is bent, and that's much more easy for a horse. But when he's bent and flexed and has to go to the same side, it's more difficult. You will discover if you train this with a young horse. And half pass is just like a travers on a diagonal. So imagine you do the 2nd corner of the short side of your arena, and then you turn your body a little to the diagonal, and you put the shoulders of the horse first inside, like a very light shoulder in, and then you take your outside leg and let the hindquarters follow. So the shoulders of the horse are very light in a leading position in half pass. And then you continue forward and by side on the diagonal. So a very nice and important movement, and you can do this in walk, trot, and canter. Very important in half pass is that you don't make pressure with your outside leg and push the horse on your inside leg and rein. Then it's wrong. Little by little, the inside rein can almost be loose because it's just there for flexion and bending, and then the horse should be very light on the inside rein. But the outside rein you need in contact, because the outside rein helps you to control the speed, helps you to keep the horse in position in case he will fall down with the neck, and the outside rein can go a little against the neck to put the shoulders more forward, or you can open the outside rein and then the hindquarters will go more by side. So outside rein, very important, should stay in contact. Your weight is always, in all lateral movements, going to the direction you move. In the German rules is written in a different way. They sit on shouldering on the other side, but I don't agree. For me, to make it logical for the horse, we always sit very light to the direction we go. And in half pass, another thing is our outside leg is a little bit behind the girth and helps us to move the hindquarters, but our inside leg is much more important because the inside leg keeps the horse going forward and helps us to bend the horse. So little by little, if you are able to use just inside leg close to the girth, maybe you can lose a lot the inside rein. You don't need it anymore if your horse is taught to bend really around your inside leg. That's a very interesting point. And if you have trained a horse like this, the half pass is really fun because it will work really, really light. And then we have renvers. And renvers is the counter exercise to travers. So if we go to through the second corner of the short side, we turn to the wall and put the hindquarters in. This is travers, and the horse looks to the direction he moves. If we pass the corner and we put the shoulders of the horse inside, and during we do this, we change bending and flexion, we are in a renvers. So the hindquarters stay on the track and the shoulders go in. So renvers is at the long side or on a straight line, almost like travers. But the problems start if you do renvers, you can do it like travers, also on circles or small circles. And if you start to do renvers there, you will see how difficult it will be, because then the hindquarters have a long, long way to go, because the shoulders are in and the hindquarters have to move more. And that is really complicated for the horses and for the riders too. So if you have a horse that can move on a small circle very well in renvers, is already very, very well trained. Another thing important, I told you already, is the pull up, but you should make all lateral movements always in the same rhythm. It should not happen that you are in a rhythm in trot and you start, for example, travers, and your horse starts to run away or is getting slower and slower. He should not lose the impulsion. Always the same collected movement. Very, very important. So now we will talk about which lateral movement you can use when your horse is not straight. So, for example, your horse is hollow on the right and on the left a little bit stiff. So you are left rein and the horse is hollow on the right. If you are on left rein, you feel the horse hanging inside, stiff on the left rein. So you do shouldering. You ride away of the left rein, of your left leg, and bend the horse. Another possibility is to make a travers on the left, because when your horse is hollow right, it's like a banana bended to the right. If you do travers to the left, you bend this banana to the other side. So very, very good exercise, very good gymnastic for the horse. Travers. And you can do an overstepping with a very, very good flexion when you're on the left side. On the other side, when you are riding right rein and you still have a horse very stiff on the left side, then it's good if you do leg yielding from left to right. So you give flexion to the left, what is almost not possible for the horse. Then you can do a renvers. That means you move your horse right rein, but you bend it to the left, where is the problem. And you can do a stepping over on the right side, where the horse is hollow, but with a very, very straight neck and almost no flexion. And here is written, it's the same the other way around if your horse is hollow on the left. So use the lateral movements. On each rein you use different lateral movements, but they should always be in harmony with the problem of the horse. So at the end, we will get a horse that is much more symmetry, and the forehand and the hindquarters are in balance. I think we have to go to the next. Yes. Forehand and hindquarters are in balance, and you will have a horse that is able physically to respond promptly to your aids. He will be very fine on your aids because you teach him your body language in a very fine way, but he's physically also able to follow your aids because he's mobile. He has no resistance nowhere. and the hindquarters, they start to carry more. Like this, your horse is very mobile, and the haunches, the big joints of the hindquarters, they started to bend because you give them activity during this work. And like this, the horse is coming up in the front because he's carrying more weight with the hindquarters. So it feels like he's going down a little in the back. So the front is coming up. So little by little, that leads to collection, and you will have a horse in self-carriage. And like this, it's very easy to get a piaffe, passage, or a pirouette later out of the horse if you prepare it like this. Of course, there are other ways too, but then you will see always riders with the red heads, and they are giving spurs to the horse, and they need hand. They even have to lift the hand to lift the head of the horse, and the horses look like it's very hard work to do some steps of piaffe. You can do it like this, but if you choose the way with the lateral movements, you will have a horse very happy, very mobile, very fine to your aids, in balance, and then he can do even the difficult high school movements with brilliance and with lightness, because he's physically prepared and it's not difficult for him anymore to do this. So that's the reason why in classical equestrianism the lateral movements are so important. So now I have some exercises for you. If your horse is hollow on the left, you can do one lateral movement after the next, and you always help the horse. With each movement, you help your horse to get more straight. So when the horse is hollow on the left, you are riding on left rein, and you start with a leg yielding from right to left, because you give flexion to the stiff side. So you do leg yielding the long side, then you put the horse straight, go to center line, and from center line back to the wall or to the track, you go again in leg yielding. It's already a little bit more difficult because there you don't have the helping wall in front of the horse's nose, but you should do it leg yielding from the center line back to the track. As soon as you reach the track, your horse is already in flexion, you give him bending too and continue in shoulder in. So now you changed rein, but you still work for the stiff side of the horse, for his stiff right side. You continue in shoulder in. You can even do shoulder in if you want through the corner. You can do it on curved and straight lines. And after shoulder in, you go very supple to a travers. Your horse is bended and flexed already to the correct direction. So you just change the position of shoulders and hindquarters. And then you continue in travers. It's just turn your body, turn the position of your legs, the horse will turn with you. So you continue in travers, what is very helpful for a horse hollow on the left side, because now you bend his body completely to the other side where he's stiff. Then you put him straight, take the center line, and make half pass to the right, what makes absolutely sense, because to the left, half pass is no problem. So you continue half pass to the right, and as soon as you reach the track, you continue in renvers. Renvers at the wall. And then when you feel, your horse maybe now he cannot hold the renvers anymore because he's hanging a little bit on the inside rein, you change to leg yielding and give freedom to the rein where he's hanging on. So you go from right to left, right away of this rein. And this you do already on a half diagonal. You go forward and by side in leg yielding, give flexion, and try to lose contact on the right rein where the horse is hanging on. When you reach the center, you put him straight, and then you go back to the track in half pass. So here you try to bend him and give flexion again. And then you reach the track and continue again in renvers, and you will see if it's better now. After all these movements, we engage the horse all the time to carry more, to carry more. That does not mean that we push the horse in high speed. No, we can do it almost in slow motion, but we make the hind leg quick. We engage the hind leg to lift and go under the body. So Now is a moment, because this is hard work for the horse, to release the horse and to see if the horse is willing to push forward. So after this renvers, we go to the diagonal, we put the horse straight, we use both legs, we give reins, and we release the horse with a long neck, nose forward, angle between head and neck open, and we push forward and let him go in long steps. So that's the final of this work, where we close the horse and engage the horse. For the final, we release him and caress him in this way. And then at the end of the diagonal, just with our seat that doesn't follow anymore, a calm seat, just when we put our upper body a little bit more up, more straight, and maybe a little bit reins, we make the horse more concentrated again. We slow down the walk, come to a collected walk, and continue working in the lateral movement the horse needs. So the exercises you can do, the possibilities are unlimited. So you can be very creative and try to find every day new solutions, new ways. So it's never boring for your horse. And as soon as you use the lateral movements in this sense, so not on the left you do all and on the right you do always the same. No, if you do it different on left rein and right rein, and especially for the problem of your horse, you will see what profit your horse will have. And after 2 or 3 weeks, the horse will be so much better, so much more engaged and more straight. And you will never get this if you just hold the rein against and try to give flexion only with your muscle power. Never ever. So gymnastic for the horse is a completely other thing. But you can try to do this and do it every day a little bit different. And then you will see, start just in walk and later do it in trot. And of course, you can use most of the exercises also in canter. And then you will see how your horse gets better and better. So I wish you a lot of fun in trying this out.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Anja. It has been really a pleasure listening to your thoughts on that. We here have now an overview of the courses we have with you on wehorse.com, especially the one that has been recognized widely, training the eye, recognizing horse-friendly training. It is really the blockbuster we have with you. And this is among many courses, plenty of courses and training videos. So please check them out. And we also have, as already mentioned in the other sessions, we do have a coupon code out at the moment for all the participants. It is Online Festival 2020. And if you enter this in the respective field in the checkout area and redeem it, you get 33% off, the exclusive coupon code for all our participants. So now we are moving on to the Q&A session with you, Anja. And we indeed have quite a number of questions that have been coming up. And everyone that didn't submit a question yet, please feel free to do so. On the bottom of the page, there is a section, Ask a Question. It opens up, and there you can ask your question. And with some luck, it gets upvoted by the community, and then we will ask it in this session. So to start off, Melissa asked, what are exercises, Anja, that can build and strengthen your horse's hindquarters?
All exercises I was talking about, but especially you start with shoulder in, because that of course builds up the hindquarters, because the horse has to step under the point of gravity. So if you do a lot shoulder in, a lot travers after, in travers the horse really gets closed and starts a little bit more to sit on the haunches. That is a very good exercise. Renvers, travers, shoulder in. But of course, you should not start immediately with that. You have to do the preparation of leg yielding and overstepping before. But these are very good exercises. And some people think we are doing a little bit lateral movements and then we do other things in the lesson. No, the truth is we almost spend all the lesson in every gait in lateral movements. because you always start to lose the balance of the horse. You get it, but it's nothing that will stay for 60 minutes. So little by little, you lose balance. You need another lateral movements to get it again, and so on. So for the hindquarters, all the lateral movements that lead to collection are very, very good.
Okay, Melissa, we hope this answers your question. I assume it does. The next one is from Pablo the Pony. Great. What lateral movements do you recommend most to relax, straightening, and strengthening your horse?
You can use almost all, but to relax, maybe in the beginning of the lesson, is leg yielding always the most simple lateral movement and the most, for me, natural movement by side. So to relax, I would say you start always with leg yielding. And then later, for all the other things you have the rest of the lateral movements. But the point is, you should use on each rein the special lateral movement your horse needs. So if it's already very hollow on the left, don't do shouldering on the left, because the horse make more hollow and the weight will flow more to the right, to the stiff side. So that's the point. And if you think on this, every lateral movement you use for your horse especially can be helpful.
And I've seen a couple of people, or Amber, for instance, you have been asking a question. Please do so in the Q&A section. Yvette from San Francisco already pointed this out. So if you do have questions, please do that in the question and answers box at the bottom of the page. Now we move on, Anja, to the next question. It got submitted by Vanessa. And the question is, what exercise can help build your horse more strength and help release, I assume it is the tension, something got cut off here. So especially when it comes to tension.
Yes, but you have to do the analysis. Where is the tension? On the left, on the right? Is the horse completely on the shoulders? Where it is? And then you have to choose the correct lateral movement. But for me, one thing I do with all horses, they are tense or on the forehand or have a problem, is this overstepping. For me, this is really very important basic work. And I think it's a good idea to do it in hand before you do it on the horse. And if you do it in hand, you are like a pillar and you move the horse by side around you and try to have the neck almost straight and the horse maybe just a little bit flexed. And if you do it in hand, you will feel where the horse is tense. Is he going out of the line? Is he hanging on you maybe? Is he able to turn the head or not? And is he able to move the hind legs? So there you will feel what's going on, and then you can make lateral movements, especially for the problem. But overstepping in hand for me is like a key to get the horse and to see all the problems. So I would start with this.
Wonderful. Next question is from Courtney, and she asks, what are the best exercises in your opinion to get a stiff horse more supple? Also a very broad question.
When it's stiff, I start first of all in leg yielding and overstepping to have the horse really that he has to open the shoulders and hind legs and cross and open and cross. Then we have the problem after this. Maybe the horse is very stiff also in the neck and cannot turn the head. So when he can open and cross the legs and I have a good result, then I start to bend the horse. And then maybe it's a good idea to ride a shouldering, but a little bit more bended than usual. That's very helpful. If you bend a very stiff horse a little bit more, but watch very well the outside, that the outside doesn't go away. So you have to control the outside as soon as you bend more. But bending more can be very, very helpful.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Will Murray. And the question is, can you please name a few good stretches or exercises for cold, so for an unbroken horse, to give him a head start for a healthy riding horse in the future? So now the topic of a young horse, how do you start? What are exercises for an unbroken horse?
No, I prefer to get the horse when they are 3 years old directly from the field. We don't do any exercises before, and then we start to lunge the horse a little. It can be 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Then we teach the horse to carry the saddle, to relax with the saddle, to carry the rider. Then the first thing we want to get is that the horse with the saddle and the rider on moves as natural as without saddle and rider. So this is the most important thing in the beginning, that the horse is relaxed and move in walk, trot, canter completely free with a long neck, nose forward, and can move as we are not there. As soon as we have this, then we think about, okay, now he moves quite normal, free, relaxed. Now we have to see where's the problem. Maybe one hind leg a little bit weak, maybe stiff on the left. Then we start to teach him a little bit leg yielding, a little bit overstepping in hand, but then he's sure already 3 months maybe ridden. And then we start little by little. But with an unbroken horse, I don't do it because there's another problem. The horse starts to get mobile. For me, sometimes it's too early even because the joints and nothing is finished. The horse is still in a process of growing up. And the problem is if you move the young horse too much before you ride on him, you put your foot in the stirrup and the horse starts to move everywhere. And that we don't want. I want to have the horse standing still, calm, waiting. And the next step, when he goes forward and no standing still, then the next step is moving by side, but not before.
Okay, wonderful. The next question in the row, I would like to skip the one how to teach collection because that is a very broad topic that could cover another presentation, I assume. For that reason, we move on to Clara's question. It is, how would I release tightness in the neck? The horse turns with its nose ahead and not through the neck.
Was heißt turn ahead, not through the neck? Maybe, yeah.
So it is tightness in the neck when there's a blockade in the neck, for instance. How do I release this?
Yeah.
How are there any exercises that can bolster that?
I get very often horses like this. And one thing is, don't care too much about the neck. You can help these horses with a light shoulder in and a lot of bending to make the stiff neck more supple. But on the other side, I don't care too much about this. I even have the horse with the reins not too short. I'll just let him. And then I start to work the hindquarters. I move the horse by side. I engage him. And it looks in the beginning not nice because the horse maybe is very open and very stiff. But there's a moment with the engagement of the hindquarters, the horse starts to give you his back. And as soon as he starts to give you the back, he will make the neck automatically in a good position and he will start to chew on the bit. So very important is not to close the nose band too much if you have a horse stiff in the neck. Not too much pressure with the reins because the horse is stiff and he will work against you. He will even get more stiff. So forget a little the reins, engage the horse in the back, do lateral movements in all direction, try to get from one lateral movement to the other, from one bending to the next, and just continue this even if the horse is a little bit open. And if this is not enough, most of the horses, then I start a little piaffe. And that's the moment where you really get the back and the horses start to breathe and the neck is in a perfect position. And then the horses start really to relax and give you the neck. So the key to the front is to engage the back.
Okay, next question. And we have been receiving some commentary here from Susan, for instance. Susan, the connection, I assume, is not broken. We are just answering the question as they come in. And now we are moving a little further down the ladder here to a question about hypermobility and hypermobile horses. And how can lateral movements be beneficial for hypermobile horses and what can go wrong?
Yes, hypermobile horses is a little bit special because sometimes you feel they move everywhere. But the point is, if you suddenly want to move there, it will not work. They are hypermobile, but at the point they don't answer. So the lateral movements are important, nevertheless. But I do, with these horses, I do the angle not too strong. So means if I do normally leg yielding with 45 degrees to the wall, with a hypermobile horse, I do it a little bit less. And like this, the horse has to go more forward than by side. Even the half pass, I try not to go too much by side and to reach at the end of the diagonal too early on the track, but a little bit later. So I keep the horse more forward and by side, and like this I get the hypermobile horse under control, and nevertheless he has a good gymnastic to move his body where I want and not just moving around. So lateral movements are important, but be careful that the horse is enough forward. And with this I don't mean speed, I mean that the hind leg should not just cross, the hind leg should go forward and by side, even in slow motion. But that helps the hypermobile horse to get under control.
Wonderful. And we have time for some more questions. And Jamie Lay was posting a question: how to improve your inside leg and outside rein connection when you have problems in doing so? That is a very broad question, but maybe 2 or 3 tips you
for
can
you
provide.
As a rider. For you as a rider, no?
Yes, as a rider. As a rider.
So, yes. For example, you start in a shoulder in. You have to use your inside leg. As soon as you feel the shoulders are inside, you use your inside leg. And you can imagine you put the shoulders of the horse inside. When you put your outside rein against the neck, you push the shoulders inside with your outside rein. So like this, the importance of the outside rein is more clear for you. As soon as the shoulders are in, you need your inside leg. Your outside leg is just there as a border. If you want to stop or something, you have it there, but don't use it too much. And if they mean, for example, in half pass, you should think your horse is really bended around your inside leg. And one thing in my lessons is always that I tell the people, as soon as you feel the horse is bended and flexed, release the inside rein, give inside rein and control if your horse is really bended or if you just hold him there. So like this, if you think on all what I told you now, you get a more clear picture maybe about the function of inside leg and outside rein. And throw the inside rein away whenever you can. And I think if you practice this a lot, you will have success.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Anja. It has been a real pleasure. For everyone here in the session, the reminder again, we have a raffle going on with Stübben, the saddle maker from Germany, and also with UVEX helmets and Rider's Choice riding leggings and breeches. And of course, there are also over 20 yearly subscriptions of wehorse in the pot. How can you be part of the raffle and how can you increase your chances? So be in the last session we have with Ingrid Klimke. And also, if you want to double down, you can post a Instagram story, just tagging our handle. It is wehorse_en, and tell your friends and family that the wehorse online festival is on. Thank you very much, Anja, for the session. And we now have a short break, and we will resume in approximately 15 minutes with Linda Tellington-Jones, tuned in from Hawaii. And at this point, thank you very much, Anja, for taking part. It has been a real pleasure. And as we see here with the commentary from all the people, help for many, many
Thank
in the community.
you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Anja, and all the best.
Yes, bye-bye. Thanks.
And for everyone, please go to the next session. We will get back in a couple of minutes with Linda Tellington-Jones, and then we go right through to Ingrid Klimke. So stay tuned. The next session, a very short break, and then we'll be back.